what a great shot on the bay this morning. Old ships, a little bit of fog, which will burn off shortly, according to Joe.
Beautiful September morning.
Welcome back.
Congressman Brian Bilbray is meeting with seniors today at a retirement community in La Costa to talk about health care, but he's talking about a lot of things. Lots on his plate.
Yeah, well, President Obama's health care plan is less popular among seniors, more than any other group, and he's in studio this morning to talk about that and some of the other issues. So let's start with health care. Why not?
Well, I think one of the biggest concerns, the seniors at La Costa Glen, which is actually right down my house, so it's going to be nice to be able to run over for lunch. But we're talking about $1 billion being taken out of Medicare Advantage. So just as one of the programs the seniors like the most, they're seeing $1 billion being pulled out. And when they say for 10 years, it's kind of interesting. The program doesn't start for 5, so this is really $1 billion price tag for 5 years. It's just it's going to take 10 years to get there because they're going to delay implementation. Seniors are very uneasy about this, and I think the one place that seniors, Republicans and Democrats, and especially independents can agree on with health care is when the president says that there's huge amounts of waste, fraud, and abuse, there's ways to save money, then why don't we start there? And more seniors are telling me, when you guys prove to me you can be trusted by going after waste, fraud, and abuse and reducing the cost of health care to everybody, then come talk to me about making more promises and covering, being able to expand the footprint of the federal system.
So you think you're just trying to do too much too quickly here?
Well, I think a lot of times that when we talk comprehensive, it's to wrap something that is very bitter that people don't want to take, like $1 billion cut from Medicare, and wrap it in with a bunch of sweet things to make them swallow it all at one time. And the public is saying, no. Why don't you take the time to do it portion by portion and move this ball along? And it just doesn't wash to say, well, politically, we got to do it right now, or we can't do it when it gets close to election. You say, why? Is it that bad that you don't want to stand by it come election time? So I think that these are processes that we got to understand that evolutionary, moderate change is what America's always supported.
So what's happening today? It's not a town hall meeting. What you're doing is a seminar, basically, for seniors. It's more of an educational seminar. Is that right?
Well, very much so. And it's also about ability to dialogue and try to lower the level of anxiety among seniors. I mean, I don't think anybody should be benefiting from scaring people back and forth. And there's been a lot of, oh, if you don't do this, people are going to die, or if you do it, people are going to die. You just talk about the fact that, look, Congress and Washington talks and makes a lot of promises about doing things fast. Usually, when they do things right, they don't do it very fast. So calm down. We'll address this thing.
Go ahead. You're a member of the House Committee on Science and Technology. Recently took part in something called, what is it here? Rock Stars of Science.
Yes.
What's that all about?
Aerosmith was in the Capitol rocking out. We had the head of the NIH actually singing Bob Dylan. What it's all about is to show that being smart, being scientific is really in and it's cool. And I think one of the things we got to recognize is that for a good reason, being smart is becoming very fashionable. And if you think about, watch your television now, you don't have Joe Friday, a hard cop busting the bad guys. You're seeing scientists working in laboratories at CSI busting it. And I think it's a great swing that we look at role models not being somebody who's big and brawny, but somebody who's very smart. And that's a shift in our society. And as somebody who's not very brainy, I've always saw myself more as an athlete. I think it's exciting to see that this culturally is a shift that I think is very beneficial. Tell the smart kids it's cool to be smart.
No longer nerdy to be smart.
And science is the way to go. If you want to see all the breakthroughs on this, and some people got to remember that there are those guys out there now who are working with high tech, working with science, making major breakthroughs that might not have been the best football player in high school, but he's darn well going to be the guy you want to date when you're in college.
It's the message you want to spread. Let's talk a moment before you leave about Guantanamo Bay and the Obama administration coming out and admitting that it probably won't be a done deal. Their plans to release the prisoners by the end of the year. It's not really any surprise. There's no logistical plan, is there?
Well, for those of us that have actually been in government and understand what a huge gap there is. I mean, as a young mayor in my 20s, I learned real quick. There's a theory and then there's practical application, and it's way over. We've got a new president, has no experience governing or being involved in government. So this is that learning curve that's going to be real steep right now. We should expect it. This is part of this change that we've had. But the fact is no, and he's under great pressure from his base, the extreme left that wasn't happy that he was immediately pulling out of Iraq. Then he thought, well, maybe I can throw them Gitmo and get out of there right away. And it's not that easy. And so we basically, his supporters and his distractors got to understand he's not going to be able to do all the things he promised as fast as he planned. Things take time, and that's how they should take it. You've got to do it right. And even the guys who operate Gitmo and built Gitmo said the last thing you want to do with these guys is bring them onto U.S. soil and put the American system under this whole process of having to have all of the legal and logistical nightmares on here. So even the guy who wants to close it down says we got to figure some place to put these guys, and you don't want to put them in this country in our neighborhoods.
Back to Washington tomorrow?
Back tomorrow morning on the flight. We'll be voting at 6:30 Washington time. So we'll be back into it on a lot of stuff, and actually looking forward, really pushing this issue about getting equity for algae fuel, and we're really excited about that. Scientists in San Diego at Scripps developed an algae that now produces gasoline, diesel, and jet co, and it can be refined in an oil refinery just like fossil fuels. This is the kind of things that are exciting with science, and our own scientists have really been breaking through to it. So our big challenge now is trying to work with the governor to allow this stuff to be built in California. Yeah. Sadly, Scripps Sapphire is taking their production to New Mexico because legally we don't allow things to be built that quickly and that effectively, and we need to change our rules to be environmentally friendly. And sometimes being environmentally friendly is allowing scientists and people to do the right thing rather than always slowing them down and stopping them. We don't have time to wait, and our scientists have had a breakthrough. So hopefully government will get out of the way and start helping rather than hindering.
That's exciting. Scripps is making algae that will be fueled perhaps someday.
Oh, absolutely. In fact, last month, they flew the first jet, the starboard engine, flew off of Jetco. You got to understand, this isn't ethanol, this isn't that kind of garbage. This is good stuff that can fly airplanes. And the energy from that starboard engine from the biofuel was more than the port engine, which was a fossil fuel.
Exciting technology. All right, Congressman Bilbray, thank you again for being with us.
Absolutely.